Now, earlier on, you would have seen that exclusive that our senior reporter, Jade Paulser, did with some of the victims who, through the Olerato Mongale case, have actually come forward saying that they recognize the voices that have come through the broadcast. And in one of the stories, one of the victims that Jade spoke to, she actually related that the alleged abductors actually said to her that she was targeted because her life was on social media. So they knew everything about her. And right now, we're going to hone in on the dangers of posting your life online. And sometimes people would do it because you think that this is a moment for you to share special events in your life, and doing so very innocently. But unfortunately, there may be some dangers lurking behind people who would use that information for nefarious purposes. And right now we are joined by Lerato Ntwampe, who is a senior media legal consultant and founder of Legal Plug Consulting. Lerato, thank you so much for joining us here this morning.
Thank you for having me.
So let's just start with this situation and ask, how prevalent are stories such as these, where people have innocently posted details of their lives online and find themselves victims as a result of that?
Sure, it's very prevalent, and I think because people have that shame, they hardly ever speak about it or share about it. Online scams especially, it's such a huge thing that's happening. But because, you know, a woman is a lawyer, she's a professional, she's a doctor, she's afraid to speak out, because it's like, really, like, you're so smart, you've got a whole degree, but you fell victim to the scam. But it's something that's happening, and because, you know, social media has become such a commodity and the economy of likes, people think that they can just share anything and, you know, it can just live there. But unfortunately, there are scammers who are looking by. There are also insurance companies that are looking by to ensure that, you know, when there's a risk and now you have a claim, you know, they're able to check on your social media platforms to see what you've been posting. I've had clients whose claims have been denied because they were posting, you know, and sharing, you know, their tech that they've just bought. There's also this phenomena of unboxing, where people are constantly buying products, buying tech gadgets, and then, you know, sharing on their YouTube channel, unboxing and telling us how this device is going to change their lives. When meanwhile, you know, people are looking, scammers are looking, criminals are looking, they're looking for you, you know, to leave either the country to go on holiday. You've posted, you've shared that, oh, I'm leaving the country, or, you know, you've showed us, they call it when a run through your apartment, where on YouTube it's quite popular, where people show you what their apartment looks like, what they have. And unfortunately, criminals are looking, and sometimes they work with the people at the complexes. Sometimes they move in themselves, knowing that they're going to cash in.
This is absolutely shocking, because, as I said, people do this innocently. They're not thinking in a criminal way about putting some of these things out. Sometimes it's just to mark, you know, a happy occasion, and unfortunately it has these dire repercussions. But you spoke about insurance. Let's touch on that for a moment. How does this impact insurance cover?
It does, because it increases your risk. So if, for example, you have a car, you're using your car for personal use, right? But now you've got a side hustle as a DJ. And now you're going from, you know, this club to that club to that club. That is not covered by your insurance company, because now essentially you're running a business. Now it says, now obviously because you're a DJ, you have to post where you're going. You know, you're playing at this club, you're playing at that club, and you post on your social media. Now your car gets stolen, or it's hijacked, or you're maybe involved in an accident. They go through your social media platform to see, you know, the events, to match your statement where you were. And then sometimes they find that maybe your cover was only, you know, just for you going to work, and it doesn't cover now your extramarital activities of DJing, and that obviously increasing your risk. Because you're driving at night, you're going to certain places. Sometimes maybe you're swiping, and they're saying that maybe you were, you know, you were drinking alcohol. So maybe that's why you're in an accident. So those factors really, really do play into account, and they do actually look at your social media platforms. particularly those that are public.
And I think that's so important because with the economy as it is, so many people have side hustles, whether it is, supplying commodities or catering or whatever it is that you do. So the point you're making is you need to have the right cover.
Right cover is so important, especially if you're going to be sharing on social media. You need to ensure that, your cover is right, as well as that what you're posting will be covered. Should something happen, you know that you've let your insurance know, because some of them will say, well, but you failed to disclose, sorry, we can't pay your access or we can't pay the claim.
These are serious, serious issues. And then, of course, there was always the perception that this happens to well-heeled people, wealthy people who would perhaps have something that the criminals would be after, but seemingly that picture is changing.
Oh no, it has. It is. I think because it's become prevalent, and as I mentioned, because of the shame, widows are targeted, pensioners are targeted. People, teachers are targeted because of the pension aspect, where you fall in love on a scam and then they tell you about their business and how, you need to invest, or somebody has died, or, oh, we need to get married because I have this inheritance in the UK and I'm required to be married. So there are those online scams that target absolutely everyone. So in the people that I've mentioned, it's mostly professionals that I've mentioned, and that's why there's that shame to speak about it, because how can you fall for a scam when you're a professional? You went to school. How didn't you see the signs, of this person scamming you, of this person, coming up with these ideas? And some of these scammers are actually, professionals. They're good-looking people. They smell good in the beginning. They'll love bomb you. They'll buy you all these gifts. They'll invite you to holidays, and sometimes just leave you there deserted for you to fit the bill.
But Lerato, the concerning thing is a lot of these, especially involving women, seem to center around love and people falling in love. That's very worrying, because as you say, whether it's for pension or in the case of the story that our reporter Jade Paulser did, or Olorato's case, for example, and there are so many others like that. You could even go back to the Thabo Bester, the initial trial, and what happened there with people being lured off Facebook and dating apps. So how should people navigate these spaces?
Sure. I think, I always advise clients, especially when it comes to online apps, stay on the app. What scammers do is that they'll quickly lure you off the dating website, because the dating website has policies and it has mechanisms in place where they're able to monitor this kind of behavior. So for example, let's say X is now chatting to 5 women, right? But then he's chatting to them on the app. He will constantly tell you, let's move the conversation to WhatsApp, let's move the conversation to Telegram, because then by doing that, he's ensuring that the dating website is unable to actually monitor what's happening, because they are able to flag suspicious behavior. But obviously, if you move to a third-party platform, it is very difficult for them to monitor and to say that, oh, this X is actually scamming Y, B, D, and C. And also because women don't report on the actual platform that this person actually turned out to be a doozy, they turned out to be a scammer. That's why these scams actually continue to happen. People are not reporting, what's happening, and also they're moving very quickly from the apps to third-party apps where they're actually able to chat, and those most of the time are not really designed for that kind of love finding or dating finding.
And then there's, of course, children who are even more vulnerable. Sometimes you've got parents posting their children. Sometimes children have access to these social media platforms. So if you think that grown women can be lured so easily, what about children?
Oh, children, it's the saddest thing. I'm actually part of an organization that we're trying to actually lobby to bring laws to delay smartphones, especially on children, and also to have a minimum age restriction here in South Africa for actually accessing social media platforms, because unfortunately our children are becoming, number one, praised. They're in kidnapping syndicates because parents have posted on the first day of school. I ran a campaign from 2018 where I was actually advising parents to stop posting their children on the first day of school with the information, because you post today, tomorrow there's somebody there at the gate who's either going to collect your child or who's going to try and kidnap your child and ask for ransom. But because now we know that your child goes to this prominent school, you actually probably have the funds. Kids are, exposed to all sorts of things on the internet, online grooming. They share nudes. They now have access to AI, and I've been dealing a lot with cases where, either kids are, portraying other children in pornographic material, or they're even doing that to their teachers, where they're using AI, and they're exposed to pornography as well, which has also devastating effects. Gambling, kids are addicted to gaming, where they will do absolutely anything to game, and because they're on this online world, they're able to chat, and Griselda can just say, oh, I'll send you X amount of money, or I will send you a cheat score, for you to be able to advance in the game. So there are so many scams even within children, where we're seeing perpetrators preying on young kids because they know that their parents will do absolutely everything. But the responsibility also lies with the parents. Let's stop delay, buying our smartphones for our children. Yes, there are edtechs. At schools, they use tablets, but there are also mechanisms. There's support from various schools. I work with various schools as well, where I provide support, where I provide talks to the parents. We talk to the parents, we talk to the children as well, to bring them, aware of some of these things that are happening. And parents, we have a moral and legal obligation to teach our children to do better. Just because our kids know better than us doesn't mean that we can just give them a phone. Giving a child a smartphone is like giving them a gun and hoping that they're not going to shoot.
Oh, Lerato, it's such a minefield. You mention AI, and you look at what is happening now with the deep fakes, and somebody starts a whole new social media page in your name. This has happened to us here. And how do you navigate that? Because I have, for example, gone and said to Facebook, this person is impersonating me, and times without number, they just turn a blind eye.
And unfortunately, that's the reality, especially with these social media platforms, because there aren't really laws that are regulating them in terms of how they should operate, how they can protect us, how they can protect our privacy rights and our personal information, particularly here in South Africa. It's very difficult to hold them accountable. For them, the bottom line is what matters. And obviously, having a fake, Griselda Facebook account means that I'm going to get engagement. I'm going to get people who are going to believe that I'm this person. Then I have a Forex scam, and if you don't have a social media account yourself, it's even more difficult, because a lot of people, a lot of South Africans, they're not really that media literate. They can't see that, okay, Griselda needs to have a blue tick to actually show that they're verified. They just see a picture and they see your name and they believe, oh, this is actually her. And so that's the unfortunate. We still need a lot of media literacy in the country. We need to empower people. We need to teach people, especially the older generation, who have no idea how these devices are being used, and they don't know how to actually safeguard themselves and their children.
Yeah, and that is the reality that we are dealing with. As you can hear, there's so many facets to this discussion. But thanks so much to Lerato Ntwampe, social media legal consultant and founder of Legal Plug Consulting, talking to us here about the dangers of posting your entire life on social media and some of the unintended consequences of what may be there innocently that people use for nefarious ends.